For this, today we are going to discuss a little bit intro about the DevOps and the cloud computing. This most of the time, this presentation deals with the theoretical part. The practical parts and the practical lectures will be given in the next continued lessons. So in this one presentation today, I will be covering what is a DevOps and what is DevOps not, and why we are going for the DevOps, and what is the future of the DevOps, and some of the questions related to the DevOps and the inputs from you as well as will be discussed. And from that input, we'll be continuing this lecture today. So coming to the first thing is that when a person is entering into the software industry, or the person who is already working in a software industry, he or she must know about the software development lifecycle. Because to develop any software project in one software company, people should have an idea about how the development will go on. The company or any organization who will collect the requirement from the client and will finish the project, the period of cycle and the way of doing the process will follow some certain software development life cycles. Basically, software development life cycle is the cycle which will represent the developing structure, how the development things goes on inside a organization on one particular project. In this SDLC, there are some sample of methods like a waterfall method, and other model is agile method, and other one is a spiral method. I'll clearly explain what are all these things. Even if you can see the picture, the software development will follow like once after the collecting of the requirement analysis, it will go for the design part. Then after that, they can go for a implementation and the testing, evaluation. So all these steps we will discuss very clearly in the next slides. So first we will discuss about the waterfall methods. Waterfall method is a very famous and which is the first successful method which have been used in the arounds of 90s and 2000s. By using this method, a simple way of a very transparent way of development has made. Simply, if you can see on the system, the first one part, the system engineering is nothing but collecting the requirement from the client. And after collecting the requirement from the client, they will do the analyze about the infrastructure and the people management, like what is the infrastructure is required for this project and how many members of developers are required for this project and how we can go ahead. All these things will be analyzed by the senior most experts of the company. So once they are analyzed the project, they will implement some design plan about it. Once they are ready with the design plan, they will be giving the same work to the coding people who called as the developers, Java, .NET in the company. And under the particular project, the people will be started doing the development. So once the development is done, they will be sending the piece of code which they have developed to the testing team. Basically, the testing team, what they will do is there are some certain tests will be there. That test will be performed by the testing team, which the piece of code given by the code people. So then after that, they will be deploying it on the real-time servers. And after that, it will go for the maintenance. Maintenance is nothing but monitoring the infrastructure and taking care of the issues and reporting them back to the developers. So basically what happened is, this is a very clear and transparent way of doing the project by following this model. But in the year of 2000s, 36.6% of IT projects have got failed across global. What is the reason behind of it is when a person is collecting a system engineering, he might be the senior expert of one is technically he is super expert, and other one is he is managerially he is a specialist. So when he is collecting the requirement, there is no chance that he will be passing the 100% information to the next level of the people. And these projects used to continue for not for a 1 month or 2 months. It continues for like years, 2 years, 3 years, like that. The main problem of this one is in this period of time of the development for the particular project, some people will come and join in the company, some people will come and leave the company. So because of this, what happens is the knowledge sharing from one person to other person will not happen as expected. So because of this, what happened is there is a lot of communication gaps between from one team to other team. So because of that, what happened is 36.6% of projects have got failed. So what people have decided is they want to come up with a plan where this kind of gap and the communication gaps should be reduced, and the project should be 100% successfully completed in time. So that's why the reason they have come up with the next development model that is called Agile Software Development Lifecycle Model. It's a very simple model, even you can understand by looking at the screen. I'll explain you in very clear. If you can see the first one, the product backlog. In the product backlog itself, you can see that is an entire project what they want to do. And what they will do is the entire product backlog will be divided into some equal parts and according to the time. So once the entire product block is divided into some individual parts, the team will decide to finish each and every individual part for some particular period of time. So this particular period of time, which they want to finish up one job or one goal, is called a sprint time. In every organization, now they will follow the sprint timings. Basically, this sprint timings is 15 days in most of the companies, and some companies will follow 7 days. It depends on the work and the people, how many people are working and the level of the company. It depends on that they will decide the sprint timing. So basically the sprint timing is nothing but a period of time which is taken to finish one individual goal. So what happens here is in the sprint time, what they will do is they will analyze and they will design and they will build the code and they will test it and they will review it. These all things happen in the single period of time, like 7 days or 15 days. And one more thing on the top of that, early morning in the first hour, what people does is the leads of all the different department teams will come together, either virtually or physically present in the office. They'll come and have a discussion about the piece of code development. If they have found any issues in the piece of code of development, what they will do is they will discuss and they will route it to the proper persons of the team leaders. So basically what happens is the issue will be immediately found out, and then after that, they will be passing it to the team people, and the resolutions also will be made very effectively. So because of this, what happened? Communication is increasing. Daily basis reviews are helping the project to improve better. And within a small period of time, one individual goal is completed. And also the product is finished up very fastly and tested into the real-time environment very fastly, and the product outcome is very fast. So by this methodology, even still we are using this. Because of this methodology, the software projects are now very fine. the product outcome is very reliable and 100% they are good. So, but everything is going good. But again, some of the issues are really bothering the people, like the communication. What is the meaning of the communication in the DevOps culture? Basically, a person who is doing the Java coding, the person can understand most of the time the Java and the Git, only some of the tools. And the person who is doing the testing, he can only can have only speak about that particular tools. Here, what happens is the communication between the one person to other person may be there, but the language which which platform they were in, that platform cannot be understood by other person. So because of this, what happening is there is a miscommunication. Means the person what the build engineer is doing, the developer cannot be understood. So because of this differences, what happening is there is some technical failures were happen. Let us assume infrastructure engineering is there with the development team, and he was trying to development team is trying to give some infrastructure request like I want this server, and the server should have this kind of configuration. But you know, the infrastructure engineering should the person should have the clarity on the development people's the development area and the piece of code and how much of server capacity is required. That should be also as analyzed by the infrastructure engineering. The reason behind of it is if the infrastructure guy provides the less configuration server, what happens automatically? The piece of code working will be not happens as expected. And again, you have to do the work from the scratch and by removing the old server. So this is the technical communication is happening. So people want to reduce this one also in the years of 2008 and 10. So then in USA, people have come up with a new ideology that is called DevOps. DevOps is basically it's a combination of different tools and practices. It is a culture where the developers and testers and IT operations together. Means the person who is working as a DevOps engineer inside the organization, he will be having the most of the time a very good idea about the each and every segment of the development process. And according to that, he is going to be the decision maker about the project, and he will be giving the inputs to the entire team people. That is a DevOps engineering, DevOps culture. And coming to few people will be having some kind of doubts like what is a DevOps? Is it a DevOps is a role? DevOps is not a role, and DevOps is not a particular separate team. It is all along with the team, and he will be the barrier for the team or like a backbone for the team to talk about the project. But because he is the person who knows about the each and every step of the infrastructure and the development and everything, the DevOps engineer will not involve into any coding part, Java or .NET. The DevOps engineer work is to taking care of the infrastructure on the automations and the cloud computing part. And DevOps is not a particular one product, and DevOps is not particular one tool. DevOps is a culture. As I already told you, it's a combination of different tools in the development strategy to work with one with another and make the project very reliable. And DevOps is not like a simply writing some kind of scripts and doing the automation. DevOps is about the complete analysis on the project which you are working for your team. So here is a sample picture I have in front of you, which you see everywhere when you are looking about the DevOps. But don't worry about it. We are not going to learn all these tools when you are looking at directly. But there are many and many advantages when you talk about the DevOps. Basically, these are all the tools. In the tools, if you can see Subversion, Zira, and Git, and the left Gradle, Maven, and Lodestone. Gradle and Maven. So these both are the similar tools, means which is used for the same operation. So for that purpose, we have alternative tools. And in our training, we will be discussing about the most advanced tools and which are 90% used in the market. And one more interesting thing in the DevOps culture is most of the time, 95 to 100%, you will get all the tools are open source. No tools are for the enterprise. Even we do have enterprise, even we need not to go for that. So this is a picture which depicts about only the tools what we use, and in the DevOps culture what we do. So if we are talking about the code, we will be using the source code management to save our code and to do any work that we will use the Git. And also we can also use this version and build bucket. These are all the things we can do. And for the build purpose, we can use a Maven or Gradle. And for the testing purpose, we use the SE and JUnit. And release purpose, we use Jenkins at the Bamboo, TeamCity, Circle CI, many are there. We'll be using the open source, which is a very famous and advanced and which is the heart of the DevOps is the Jenkins. We will use that one. And for the deploying purpose, we have Ansible, Puppet, Chef, Saltstack. These are all there. But Ansible is a very advanced tool, which is highly recommended in the market. We'll be using the Ansible. And operations-wise, the Linux administration part, we will be covering to troubleshoot the servers. And coming to the monitoring purpose, we'll be using the Nagios and New Relic, Sensu and Splunk. And here the Nagios and the ELK one, we will look into it, how the infrastructure will be monitored. So this life cycle, it will follows, and everywhere the tools will be fetching with one with other to give the better service for the entire project. So these are the tools. Now what I will do is I'll take you through the individual tools one after the other now, and there I will discuss about the individual tools. The first one tool is which we will learn in this project is the source code management related tool. What is the meaning of the source code management? See, in your organization, when more than obviously in the team 10 to 20 people or 50 people, 100 people will work. For one single project, if some number of people are working, the entire developer team will do the coding part, and they have to do the coding for the only for a single project. So here, whenever they are doing this coding part, people should have an idea what other person is doing, because the development should have a proper collaboration to finish up the code. Means the communication between one person to other person. As you know, communication in the sense people will not sit side by side, right? Because some people will sit in India, some people will sit in USA, some people will be in Bangalore, Chennai, and Australia. Because we are the global working employees, we will work from anywhere in the world. If you can consider the now situation also, we are working from home now. So we are connected from many different places. So directly we cannot speak and directly we cannot connect every time about the single thing part. So because of this, what happens is there should be a tool that should communicate for the other person to understand what the person is doing. So that situation, the source code management tool is very useful. So that's why the reason this Git is one of the best tool in the market, which was owned by Microsoft, and that we will be using, which is a very easily learned tool, which you can learn in a very couple of time. And this tool is you can understand very easily, and the commands also very less. And the only thing is that you have to understand the workflow and the terminology and what happens inside the tool. So basically, this tool will have a couple of commands, and that couple of commands, if you can understand and if you can execute the code, that will be very easy for you. And one more thing, when I'm speaking about the code in front of you, and never think that you will be not involving in the code. I will be talking about the code because we are going to take care of the code, but we are not going to write the code. We, in the sense, DevOps engineers in the company. Okay, so this is a Git which is a source code management tool inside the organization. It's for coordinating the people. And if you can see the sample picture, this master will continue all this master code, which is the source code of all the individual branches. The branches is nothing but for the individual, as I told you just now, the sprints planning, individual developments are there. They will be developing in the branches. Once they develop in the branches, they will keep all the code into the master. So that after the everything is completed, then master code will be collected and build will continue. So this is how the piece of code will be kept inside the source code management. And now, once the code is available, we cannot directly use the code, but using the code, we need a proper way of bundling. That is called a build is required. A build is related to the code to get the artifacts from the code, means the entire piece of code kept into one single file like .jar or .var or .ear. It depends on the requirement. So basically, this is a tool for the build. A Maven, Apache Maven is a very popular tool from last 10 years, and which is giving a very high volume of successful projects from this tool, which is a very famous in the market. And here is a Maven is going to have some basic concept of POM.xml, which is nothing but project object model, which will have all the information on the piece of code, what kind of operation or what kind of build is going to be done. It will be containing like information like group ID, artifact ID, and this also will contain what kind of outcome also you are expecting, jar or var or EAR and the unit test. So like that, it will be having some JSON kind of format. And now I'm only talking about the introduction of the tools. That's why the reason I'm directly not showing all the information to you. In future, in the next classes, we'll be starting about the individual tools. So we'll be explaining step by step, and you can see all the information over there. So if you can see the picture, there are some flow, like it will follow on the piece of code to give the proper or the expected outcome from the build. So first, there are some phases, life cycle phases were there, like validation and compiling and test phases and packages and integration test and verifying and install and deploy. So all about this we will learn in the once we start the Maven. So next, the important one is Jenkins, which is a CI/CD tool. Every time when we find a DevOps culture, we particularly find this word called CI/CD in the job requirement and in the portals everywhere. What is the meaning of CI/CD? The continuous integration and continuous delivery. Let me give you a simple example in front of you. Let us assume this guy is the development team, complete development team, and these people are keeping the code here. So once code is available in the GitHub here, what happened? The people are collecting the code from the GitHub and doing the build. But remember, the builds cannot be only one or two in the organization. Every organization will does thousands of builds a day. Means thousands of time you will be not running the commands manually to execute the artifacts and to get the artifacts. That is not possible, because if that is the case, the people who have to work for that project will be increased, and that is a waste of the project cost. Always people will think about the most of the time automation and removing the people, removing the human efforts. So that's why the reason this Jenkins is one tool, which is a very helpful. Not only does the CI/CD, it can does many wonderful jobs inside IT infrastructure. What happens is whenever the developer pushes the code to this, and because of the configuration inside the Jenkins with the Maven and the Git, it can collect the code from the GitHub directly to this, and it will do the builds, and automatically it will give the all the artifacts to the next level of development. And even if any build is also fails, it will notify the developer to look into the issue and to solve it. So because of this automation, no person is manually intervened here to do the builds by running the Maven commands. So because of this, what happens? Majorly, a lot of work is getting reduced. And here the Jenkins is one of the open source tool, and it also have an open community where every week the plugins also will get updated. This is a wonderful about this tool because every week they will be giving a number of plugins, and these plugins are the integration from one tool to other tool. That only happens when we talk about the Jenkins, especially this is how they are supporting people. And even community question and answer centers also there. You can get the Q&A or also there. So this is how the Jenkins will do the CI/CD. And coming to the CI/CD, whenever you are doing this automation and keeping the code ready to in the Jenkins to do the builds automatically without manual intervention, then it is called continuous integration. And when you are doing this, all the processes by using the Jenkins, but triggering the commands or the builds directly, that is called continuous delivery. So now, after the build, the only thing is that one, you have to keep the code in each and every server, right? If you are in a project, if you want to keep your application ready in all the servers, you need to have a tool which can copy the code from master location to the node locations. If you can see here, the one of the best tool in the configuration management of the DevOps culture is Ansible. What is Ansible? Ansible is basically a IT configuration management, deployment, and orchestration tool. And what happens is this tool will connect to all your infrastructure servers, and in the background, it will does all the software changes, and it won't stop or it won't affect any operation which is running already on the top of the server. So quickly, I want to give you an example. This Ansible will contain a playbooks in the sense which will be written in the YAML format. YAML means yet another markup language, which is a very easily human readable language you will understand. And then after that, the inventory in the sense which is all about the infrastructure list, what are the IP addresses have been connected to the master. And this IP addresses in the sense, this inventory also can be listed in the label wise. What is the meaning of the label wise? Label wise in the sense, in the inventory, we can give like developers team servers, testing team servers, like that. All these things also you can keep as a label wise. The reason behind of it is whenever you want to target some group of people like testing people or development people, for that particular people only you can make the changes. What is the meaning of the changes then? The entire node machines are connected to the master. Connected means they are network, on the basis of the network they will be connected. So what I want to do is I want to copy a piece of a file from master location to all these locations, or otherwise I want to install one service from all the nodes from master machine to these nodes. So whenever you want to make a changes or install a software, or if you want to remove a software, or if you want to stop the service, or if you want to start the service, so if you want to do any of these kind of thing, the simple solution is Ansible. But what happening here, you are sitting somewhere and you are accessing all the servers of your organization without doing any manual job. In the background, everything you are doing automatically by using the Ansible. So this is how the Ansible will use in the DevOps culture to do some deployments and do the software changes in the project. In the DevOps culture, one more very important tool which is used in each and every organization is called Docker. Docker is basically a containerization tool. Basically, what happens is Docker will have the images, and after the top of the images will be, by running the images, we'll get the containers. The containers will have the application. If I speak about all this terminology, you might be not getting it directly. But let me explain very in deep about this concept to understand very better about the Docker. So if you can see, the normal machine, let us assume this is a normal machine in the sense whatever the laptop you are using, that you assume. Okay, this is the laptop. On the top of the laptop we have a hypervisor in the sense the software which is installed on the top of your computer, the Windows box computer, that will provide the bridge communication to have the virtual environment servers. What happens is this hypervisor is going to be a bridge communication from your local infrastructure, like on top of your RAM, hard disk, and the CPU cores, everything it will connected. And on the top of that, what we will do is by using this hypervisor, and we will be installing the third-party softwares, and we'll be creating individual systems. You know, each system will be having a 5 GB, 6 GB, 7 GB of the size of the operating system. So we will be installing the operating system that is called guest operating system. That is called guest operating system. So whenever we are installing the guest operating system on this one, what happens is this laptop or the server or the Windows box, whatever the configuration is there, everything will share it equally. Because of this, what happens? The laptop or the server or the particular Windows box, the entire resources will be comes down because of the very high amount of usage. So because of that, what used to happen is the virtual machines used to come down every time. When these virtual machines are comes down, the applications used to come down. That will be very big problem for the organizations. What is the meaning of this guest operating system in the sense? So by taking the third-party software, installing on the VMware or the virtual box, what we will do is we will be taking the one operating system, and on the top of that, we will be installing our application. In the sense, in simple words, on the top of one infrastructure, you will be creating another infrastructure, and you are splitting into a multiple number of systems, and you are doing your application. That is called a virtualization technique. So this virtualization technique might be helped a lot in a few olden days, but these also have given a lot of troubles for the people to manage because of the network issues majorly, and also infrastructure issues as majorly, and the performance wise also very drastical problems were there. So the main evolution from the Docker is to have a very lightweighted containers. And you can understand here one important thing is on the top of the infrastructure, either Windows machine or the Linux environment, what you will do is on the operating system, you will be installing the Docker. Once you install the Docker, what happens is Docker will share all the libraries and whatever the operating system needs you want. Everything will be shared for all applications in the only for a one layer. Means here, if you can see for application A, application B, or application C have individual operating systems, but how many applications you want to go, you go, but the operating system will be the same, and the libraries and the available sources all same. Because of this, what happens is it doesn't show any effect on the CPU core of the system. So because of this, the Docker is doing a wonderful job, and it can restart even the Docker containers in a second. So that is the beauty of the Docker. And coming to the next one is the Kubernetes, which we will discuss in our project. And this Kubernetes is a container orchestration engine. Don't confuse much. The Docker is a containerization tool, means the requirement will be writing in the Docker files and will be making into image, and after the image will be running it as a containers. And here in the Kubernetes is a tool which used in the infrastructure to do the container orchestration. Means whenever a container to other container want to speak, means integration between the containers to serve for the application. Means if your application is not related to the one container, if your application is related to the many number of containers, then obviously you need a orchestration. You may get a question, why Docker doesn't have the orchestration facility? Docker also have the Docker or container orchestration facility that is called a Docker Swarm. That is also available there. Either we can use that, but the Kubernetes will give you a much more additional benefits to you to maintain your application. That's why the reason we have a Kubernetes. So the Kubernetes is the next level of the Docker for the containers to do the orchestration. So on the top of the system, there will be a components like kubelet, kubeproxy, and the Fluent is the storage, and the Docker which is installed, and basically the kubectl also will be there, that is going to control all the managers, all the services here, and each and every pod on the top of this node in the sense, remember every time, don't confuse node, slave, or otherwise worker. If I speak anything, these all comes under one server. It represents one server, one machine. That's it. No need to confuse about these words. So here, if you can see on one server, all the pods will be there. Pod is nothing but individual deployment which happens on the server and which will run one application. So you can give as many as pods according to your configuration on the top of the node. So that is what we can directly do by using the Kubernetes. So this we will discuss more about in the upcoming classes. And this is the virtualization. Just now I have explained how the operating system and hardware, the applications, and hardware and the application operating systems. So this is just now I have used. And coming to this one, this is how the traditional way in the 90s or the 95 2000s we used to do. Then after that, we have come to the technology of the usage of the virtualization layers, and that also replaced by the Docker again. And the Python also will be taking some piece of code information inside our DevOps codes, like to understand some modules like Photo 3 like that. And for that one, we will be going through some of the modules for the basic and also into the intermediate level, and we'll understand the Python and how it will be used for the development process in this project. So the Nagios is a tool which is going to be a monitoring tool to do the monitoring on the infrastructure. Basically, whenever you are taking some servers and you are doing the deployments and running an application, you need to monitor the server because of the reason sometimes how our mobile or the smartphones, how they will be running out of the memory. Then the same way, the servers also will be having the memories and CPU issues. So at the time, you have to take a quick action and you have to remove something, or otherwise you have to increase the capacity of your server. So that only can be done by using the Nagios. Even the manually also you can go and check in the server of the size and CPU usages. But if you have one or two servers inside the organization, that would be fine. If you have thousands of server, every time you cannot go and watch. So here is the dashboards which will provide the which server is having some kind of trouble, and it also will trigger the mails to you if you're not in front of the dashboard. So that is a facility of the Nagios and the monitoring tools that we will discuss. ELK is the next level of the monitoring for the logging methodology and analysis on the logs. Basically, this will provide the complete output from the log registry, and which we can analyze and we can make the decisions. So how this infrastructure will be on the top of the server, I'll explain you. If you can see, once the log is collected, the log in the sense, the system activity which is recorded with respect to the timestamp. On the top of the server, there are different kind of logs, application logs and the system logs, sys logs, different type of logs will be there. So what are the desired logs you want to collect for your application? And that will be collected by the beats. Beats in the sense, this is an agent will be installed on the top of the system. And once it is there, that is going to do the data transferring to the log stash by processing the logs, and Elasticsearch will be the storage engine. And then after that, it will be visualized by the Kibana by collecting it from Elasticsearch. In simple, if I want to say what this ELK does is, ELK will be the intermediate tool here. Basically, what it will does is, the ELK will give you the one-time solution, like one-stop solution for you to collect any log. Say, an example, I want to give you one example for you here to understand very better about the logging methodology. Let us assume a person for the Independence Day sale, he visited Amazon web application and he purchased one laptop which cost about some 50,000 rupees. So what happened is he used his credit card and he purchased it. But unfortunately, his money got detected, but his order was not placed. What person will do is immediately he will contact the customer care. So when he calls the customer care, what customer care will do is care will keep this application, the Kibana GUI, in front of them. They will ask first of all, they will ask for some things like some important inputs like your username, your mobile number, or your credit card number. So whatever are there, they will ask. What they will do is by using that string, they will place inside this tool. Simply by within a second, they will get the details where the mistake was happened. Then the solution will be given immediately. So even though Amazon will have a lakhs of customer per second purchases, how come they can directly get the each and every customer details very quickly? That time, these kind of tools are the main solution for them. That's why the reason they can run very smooth business by implementing this. So that's why today in every organization, this LK is playing a very important role in the analysis of log. So this is, we will discuss more depth inside our DevOps course, DevOps and Cloud Computing course. So after discussing about these tools, I just want to keep you what you are going to earn after the DevOps course here. Basically, if you can see this chart, this is not a modern periodic table. This is a periodic table about the DevOps tools. So if you can see, just this is what I have collected from somewhere just to represent what are the advantages of it. See, the beauty of this DevOps is if you have an idea about a particular idea about the one single tool, the similar tools are very easy for you to understand in another projects and get them very quickly. If you can see, if you can learn the GitHub here, all these tools are very easy for you to understand, even if another organization using the same. Here also you can see the same one, Ansible and Jenkins, and also you will be learning here. So these are the areas you can see. This is the source code management tools, and the next one, database management, database automation, and continuous integration, Jenkins, and the testing, SE will be teaching, and configuration, Chef, Ansible we are also going to discuss, and deployment also we are using the same, and people will use some Octopus, GoCD, different tools, AWS deploy, different tools also will be there, but which follow the same methodology to deploy. Release orchestration, already we are using the Jenkins, which is an important one. And the containers will be using the Docker and the Kubernetes, both we are learning, and these all will follow the same kind of methodology, nothing differs. And the cloud computing, we are covering the most important one as the AWS, and which will have the similarity of all these other cloud providers. Likewise, this is the scope of the DevOps. Once you are entering into this, these are all the advantages. So the deployment platforms we will discuss about, one is Windows and other one is Linux. But most of the time, the work related to the Linux will happen everywhere. The next important thing, the cloud computing. Before I want to start cloud computing, if you have any quick questions for a minute, you can ask me. I think nobody have any questions. We'll be not touching the Terraform over here. Terraform is like a very advanced way of understanding tool. Once you have the complete understanding on the DevOps culture, the Terraform might help you out. That we will see in the later, or we'll see the connectivity later. Any other doubts? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the cloud computing, which is next segment. I think somebody messaged again. So yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. I'm Sandeep. Uh, I have firstly in this seminar. I'm from a different background. I'm from non-IT background. I'm a
This we will
mechanical
discuss.
engineer.
This we will
But
discuss.
I understand this, but not in a detailed way.
Yeah. Sandeep, what we will do is related to this discussions.
Okay,
We
okay,
will
okay.
put end of the session now only technically, and the answer to Kirti, Priya, and we are going to discuss everything the live projects only. We are not going to discuss anything like a theoretical way or the same steps or the same stories. Every time I'll be giving the new projects to every batch, and every time while teaching also everything will be taken on the type of sample project kind of thing, and that will be really going to be a realistic experience for you. So yeah, Gurumukh. Gurumukh Gupta, you want to say something? You raised your hand. Okay.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
I was trying to unmute. It was not working. Anyways, how we will be starting this course? Since I don't have any AWS background, so how we will be starting the sequence wise? AWS, then DevOps.
No, the Linux administration part will start. Then after that, whatever the tools we have discussed, that will start. And then after that, we'll go for AWS. And while we starting from the Linux administration also, we'll be just giving the intro on the AWS and creating the servers. These things will be discussed. But particularly AWS services will be discussed when we enter into the AWS part.
Okay, so DevOps tools we will be able to understand without AWS understanding.
No, you need any cloud, particularly AWS is very advantageous in India.
No, question is since you said that DevOps will be learning tools, we will be learning before AWS classes. So that is what I'm asking. If we don't know.
Because when you learn this, the same things, many services also will be available. Some of the services which will represent these tools also available in the AWS. So those tools you can compare and you can understand. Only simple thing, the AWS will have very easy of learning. But end of the day, people will not go for that because AWS cost everything, right? Per hour basis. People will choose only open source to reduce the cost. That's why the reason they recruit the people, right? So likewise. So let me quickly speak about this cloud computing. After that, we'll have a Q&A. We'll start all the questions and we will be discussing about them. Now, coming to the cloud computing, cloud computing is nothing but the virtual environment which is available in front of us and physically which is not available in front of us. It is located in somewhere called the data centers. And from there, we are going to use the services of one cloud provider and we'll be paying him the cost for our usage, how we used to pay for electric bill and the water bill. So that is what the cloud computing, where nowadays this cloud computing is one of the master one in the market to use for a different kind of services. And if you can see, what is exactly the cloud computing? And we may have multiple doubts like what is the use of this? The basically use of this is a disaster management and many other reasons for that. Like once we have the data in our local server, which is our on-premise, if we lost the server, we cannot get them back because of any issues like power outages or the server crashes. But the thing is that when in the cloud, what happens is whatever the data you keep in your servers, that will be replicated to another data centers as automatically whenever any data center is damaged because of some drastic issues. But the thing is that when your data will be never lost. That's why the reason every cloud provider is having a 99.99% of the data security for the customers. And if you can see the third question, the why to choose the cloud. And cloud here is the infrastructure provider for us within a couple of minutes, and where we can deploy our application and we can serve. And it is a solution for a different segment of IT industry people to serve very better. So we have to choose a cloud to reduce the cost and improve the efficiency of the project and to utilize many of the services for the customer. So benefits, if we talk about the cloud computing, there are no one or two benefits. There are hundreds of benefits on the cloud that we will discuss. And why cloud sounds good for different projects? The reason is many of the projects are choosing the cloud. The reason is reliability and the performance and the auto scaling process, and everything is very faster compared to any other things. People think the cloud learning is a little hard. No, not really, because all the clouds are in the form of graphical user representation. Means it is in front of you on the screen with the graphical things where every step is listed in front of you to learn and which you should click and go and the next. So that is a very approach when compared to the CLI, like learning in the command line interface. So basically the best market player in the cloud computing service is AWS for now. And what are the benefits of the cloud computing? That is a self-service provisioning, means if you want to provision or if you want to create a servers quickly, the same servers, it can done in a couple of seconds with only giving only configuration without doing any manual interventions. Elasticity means if your traffic is more, you can automatically increase your server without doing any modification in the server, that you can keep the maximum number of users and increasing the capacity and everything. The scalability is also, which is the same concept of elasticity, but scalability will increase the number of systems directly. And pay for use methodology, like how many hours of you use for that many hours you use, which is a very less cost compared to others. And reliability, these are very reliable, and performance wise, these systems are very ultra fast, and all the services will give you a better compared to any on-prem technologies. And automatically softwares will update in the background, and softwares you need not to do any automation any updation quickly. Means basically, if you can see your Windows system, if you get any update, it will ask you to restart the system. See, remember, restarting our own personal system does not give any effect to us. But when we do this process for the live servers, which is traffic serving on, then it will be problematic to our application, which is running on the top of the server, and it will affect the customer. So that's why the reason it will done all the software updates in the background. And coming to the security, these servers are very secure. And if you talk about the cloud computing, specifically, we can talk about the Amazon Web Services, who is a market leader and will provide the thousands of service for the different area of the people in the IT industry and non-IT industry as well as. So basically, AWS is in the sense Amazon Web Service. The benefits also very same, which we have discussed just now, and scalable and high performance and secure, global leader, and the centralized billing and the management. These are all the features also we'll see once we go and start with the AWS and the services also. Once have a look on the global architecture of the AWS, these are all data centers. Maybe one or two data centers may be added because this is a old picture I have taken 1 year back. So what basically data centers is like, these are located in a very different geographical locations. This will have thousands of servers inside the rooms. This specifically looks like a godams, rice godams, how they will look like in the same way. And the people will be continuously working from there to maintain the data of the customers. So these data centers are globally set up like this. So because of this, the AWS is becoming a global leader by providing services to all the customers. So basically, the DevOps culture have started in the USA in the year of 2008 and 9 and 10. And after that, in India, it sounded from 13 to 14. And within a span of 4 to 5 years, and DevOps is completely sounding anywhere and everywhere, and it is demanding the highest salary in the market. The only reason is that you are learning the different kind of tools inside the DevOps culture and having a good knowledge on the project and the implementation and working with the different teams. The job security for this DevOps job is very high. Not compared to any other jobs, you are the key person of the project and company will never leave you. That's the main advantages of the DevOps. And nowadays, every company is asking the people to go and learn DevOps and come back, like Cognizant or some companies were there. So if you can see, within 4 to 5 years, there is unexpected demands. And if you can see the jobs, even the lacks of job opportunities are still available in the market right now. First of all, when I talk about the DevOps, the first thing comes into my mind is that many on-site opportunities, because the DevOps engineers will always involving into infrastructure and taking care of that. You need to travel to the countries and to understand the things, and you might be work from other countries for a couple of years as well. As it depends on some companies will does this, some companies not. And as I told you, you are the key person, and I'm telling you, this is the highest paid job in the market right now. And the DevOps there will be no doubt for the next 30 to 40 years. And always in the DevOps, you will be getting the senior roles. That is a very good benefit for you, where you can increase your life, the leading levels in the IT industry. And there are ocean of opportunities, and there are new companies, and many companies are looking for the DevOps engineer everywhere for the different kind of projects. So this is what about the DevOps and the cloud computing. Okay, now please start your questions. Previously, one person asked me one question. Can you please start your question first? Like your different